Hi, guys. We are going to welcome you to our 2022 Home Buyer Seminar. And we want to talk especially to home buyers because we know how challenging it is in this market. And I want to clear up some misconceptions that you have heard. And so the first thing I'm going to do is to clear up one big misconception is I think it's time to bring back an old logo that was it was actually the logo for a company called Powell and Company when I first got in real estate. And I want you to see this logo, and then I'm going to give you the caption of what this logo said below it. Powell and Company was a new construction company that was up off Creedmoor Road, run by Tommy Powell. It was an incredible organization. Jim Allen worked there. That made it incredible to begin with, but they handled a lot of new construction. But here's the logo that they had. Now, this is not the old man that they had, but the caption on this logo is, "This is a young man who waited for the cost of real estate to come down." And I want to give you that because right now in our market, so many people are saying, "Oh, you know what? This is just too hectic. I will just wait." And I don't want to tell you that it is a complicated market. There is high demand, but there was a lot of homes sold in Wake and surrounding counties last year. So there's not a shortage of inventory if that many homes were sold. What was different was people are coming here. We're a high demand area. So I've got two of my absolute pros with me on the buy side. They're buyer specialists, and Scott VanderHeide. And Scott's been in real estate for about 5 to 7 years. I think about some of those were in California real estate, which is wild and crazy. And then we've got Daphne Anderson-Wall, which is my top buyer's agent and such an asset to our team. She's been in the business for over 20 years, been one of my partners here. So you can learn a lot from Daphne. I just did a video with her and she tried to leave the building, not to be on this second video, but that's okay. I squashed it. So let's just talk about, first of all, I told you, I love that logo. The young man who waited for the cost of real estate to go down. I think that is just, it's time to bring that back. It is time for that to go out there again. So, because so many people are thinking, hey, this is not going to last. I'm hearing this is not sustainable. I'm hearing a lot of things. And so I wanted to start off with why you should buy a home this year as soon as possible. And let's begin with one of the reasons that you want to own a home is because you're going to have financial security. Your financial security going forward is going to begin the day that you own a home. And so buying a home, I can show you a little, I think a scale that we've got here that shows a homeowner's net worth compared to a renter's net worth. And you'll see it's quite a difference. So when you own a home, you start your path to financial security. And it's really important in today's market that you understand that inflation is out there. It's a real factor that homes are going up in price, and so is rent. So the minute that you can lock in your house payment for 30 years, that's a very good thing. Plus, you'll have the equity gain. And I can tell you for sure that we've sold homes in January of this year that are already worth more than they were when you wrote the offer.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your equity gains. Let's talk about the reason we have home ownership in America is a great opportunity, and we want you to be involved in it. So if you buy now, you're going to be positioned for future price increases. From the moment you buy, you start gaining equity. And is that gonna continue? Let me show you one more thing, and then we'll get into the discussion. There's a home price appreciation that a bunch of experts did, and I want to show you that these price appreciations, I think in 2022 they said they go up 9%. Now the difference between this and a local is this is national. And of course, there's not high demand for all locations in America, such as there is in the Triangle. You know, there's demand because people are moving here, because commerce is doing well here. The economy is doing well here. But it shows you that looking forward, home appreciation is going to go up. It's going to continue to go up, and that's the reason I said started off with the young man that waited for real estate to go down. If you look at it a different way on a scale, and if you use just the national appreciation between 2022, a home that costs $360,000 in 2027 will cost $456,000. Now that's with a national appreciation. There's security in a multiple of people who give you advice. You never get advice for one person, and this was 100 real estate experts. So I think the growth is there. So let's talk about you as a prospective buyer and the things you need to be ready for when you step into this market. So I want Daphne and Scott to speak to the buyers that they've worked with, the ones they've been successful with, the ones that they've been unsuccessful with, and tell us their stories. Let's talk about the successes first. That's always more important.
I'll go first. I have been very fortunate in real estate, and I think one way to be successful, again, is to listen to your buyer, gain their trust so they will listen to you and you can guide them. This is a very challenging market, and I think the more you know about it, the more you know what to tell your clients to expect. Inventory is low right now just because we do have a tremendous amount of people moving in. I think the other thing that people get a little bit confused with is the due diligence. So you have to explain everything about the aspect of buying to a potential client. And once you have their trust, I think you're going to be fine. They're going to listen to you. They're going to want to work with you. It's not always going to be things they want to hear, but I think as long as you're honest, you're going to do well.
I love Daphne because she talks about she's been lucky. Let me tell you something. The harder you work, the luckier you get. So you've talked about some successes, Scott. You're fairly new to this area. But so tell me some of the successes, the ones that have actually got the house.
Yep. Well, I've like she said, I'm fairly new to North Carolina as a whole. I've been here a couple of years. One thing that I like to do when I work with a client is I don't like to think of it as I'm trying to sell you a house. It is my job to help you find the house that fits in your needs, wants, and budget. So that's what I focus on. Usually it pertains to having a meeting, sit down or over the phone, and we discuss what it is that the buyer wants in a home, whether it be a price range, whether it be an area in which they want to live, size, all that matters. But it's my job as an agent to work for the buyer and help them find what they need and not to sell them on something that they don't.
That's awesome way to approach this business. Now, tell me how you help your buyer get mentally prepared to jump in this fray.
Wow. That is a difficult question. Again, I think, as long as you prepare the buyer, show them, how the prices have changed over the past year or past 2 years. Show them, the facts. Educate them on the whole buying process. There's so many people that move here that have no clue about due diligence, have no clue, when it comes to an attorney state versus an escrow state. I think just educating them is the best way to work with your client.
Mm-hmm. Now, Scott, how do you mentally prepare your people?
It really comes down to an honest conversation with the buyer. I don't pull anything. I speak the truth. I try not to sugarcoat it, but I do try to lessen the blow a little bit. But sometimes you got to show them and show them that, hey, you know what, this is the market that we're in. An old coworker told me a long time ago. He says, "There's no problems, only opportunities."
There you go.
So I look at it that way.
That's right.
We get around it, but yeah, you got to have that honest conversation with the buyer and prepare them to what they're going to expect. And that way it doesn't hurt as much
Yeah.
when you're actually going through it.
That's true.
I heard one time a leader say that you go to war with the army you have, not the army you wish you had. And many times we wish we had a different real estate market, don't we? But this is the market we've got, and we make something happen in this market. So tell me about how you advise your buyers as far as getting pre-approval.
Well, almost, I don't know of anyone that's even going to look at an offer unless your clients are pre-approved. And they need to feel comfortable. They need to know in this market that we're in that it's still very challenging. They need to know the pros and cons of different kinds of loans. And we have fabulous lenders that can work with you and help you feel comfortable. But it's just a matter of feeling comfortable.
Yeah. Scott, would you recommend anybody make an offer in this market and not be pre-approved?
Absolutely not.
What would you tell them?
I tell them it's the first step. The first step in the process is working with the lender, find out what type of buying power they have, and that will help direct where we need to shop.
Yeah, that's the truth. So buyers, what they're saying to you is be ultra prepared. And there's too much risk in this crowded field of demand for you to go in without your full, and there's a difference between pre-approval and full approval.
Mm-hmm.
How do you reach that with your buyers? How do you get them to understand that they got to go through the full process, not just the...
Well, I leave that really up to the lender to educate them some on the buying process, but I do tell them that the more ammunition we have when we go in, the better it's going to be for them. And I'm going to say this just because I think this is something that I'm starting to see happen. I have had a couple of agents come back that we didn't have the pre-approval for right then. And I said, I'm getting it. And honestly, they came back and said, well, with this much due diligence, we know they've got to be approved because they're not going to walk away from that amount. And I'm just sharing that because that has happened recently.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So next thing I want to talk about is how you as a buyer choose the right agent to win in this market. And I'm going to give you some unapologetic advice. After 30 years in real estate, this is no time for rookies. Okay, you need to be with a proven agent that's recently understands, because this market is so fluid, it's changing every single day. I mean, it's changed from January till now, so we know it's really active. So you're going to be signing a legal contract. So you got to find somebody who's got recent experience. So let's talk about the rapport, building a rapport with an agent, how you would choose an agent. And I want you to speak to the buyer, and you don't know them, but how should they choose an agent in this market?
Well, I think you would want to choose an agent that had knowledge of the market, that had knowledge of the area. And when I say area, I mean everything from knowing who the builders are, knowing schools, knowing everything there is to know about the area, because many people that come here don't know where they want to live, and you have to educate them on all of the areas. So I think it's just being prepared.
Mm-hmm. Scott, what would you tell somebody coming from California how to choose an agent?
I would say choose an agent that asks you a lot of questions, that asks you about you, what you need, what you want, what your lifestyle is. Without knowing that information, you can't help them find the home that they need.
That's awesome.
And listen.
Absolutely.
Listen to what their needs are.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is, so if you can't find an agent that won't listen to you, you can't really help. That agent really can't help the deal too much. That's it. All right, let's talk about how we get our offers accepted. In other words, how we win a multiple bid. Different ways. I'm going to give you some few ideas. But what would you think is your main card that you play when you know there's a lot of offers on the table? How do you do it? What do you do?
Well, I think it's very important to gain or build a relationship with the other agent. A lot of agents, and I've heard this many times, they feel like they're working against the other agent instead of working with the other agent. So I think just knowing, letting them know you're a great agent to work with, that you want it to be great for not just your buyers, you want it to be great for the sellers, you want to show them, you respond to questions, you ask questions, you just work as a team.
That's good. That's good. What she's really saying is she builds rapport with the listing agent, and she does it in a lot of different ways. But what would you say, Scott? How do you win the deal?
Same thing. I always talk to the agent, find out, a little bit more about, again, it comes to asking questions again, finding out what is important to the seller, because we all know that due diligence and highest and best is what everybody wants. There's no question about that. But sometimes sellers want something different. Sometimes the seller wants a little bit more time in the house. It could be anything that they want, is trying to figure out what that is so that you can put the buyer and the seller together, make everyone happy.
That is awesome, awesome advice. And what they're saying, folks, is this business can get so tedious. And so when you're working with the other agent, you want to be as friendly as you can. There's a lot of people that approach real estate like a pit bull. You feel like a pit bull with lipstick. So you don't want to do that. You want to make it a flow for the other agent. You want to make it easy for the other agent. You want to use humor when you can. Honestly, I've seen somebody bring an offer and a cake to a seller. There's all kinds of crazy things. But rapport with the listing agent is something, when you interview agents, you need to ask yourself, does this agent, number one, have they been in the business, that they have relationships, and do they have the ability to get rapport with the other agent? So never underestimate. I wrote this down because I think it's important. Never underestimate the value of relationships in real estate. This is where a team leader or somebody can be in the game, and that they might know the listing agent that's there. So that can add value to it. The right agent strategy has strategies to go way past the price. You heard Scott talk about this. Find out what's important to them. Do they want to stay in the house a week, 2 weeks after closing? You can actually pay for things as a buyer that won't cost the seller anything on taxes. If you pay $20,000 more for the house, that's a great thing, but they got to pay taxes on that $20,000 in some cases. So I think that it's important to really, really optimize in things. So one other thing I wanted to mention too is summarizing the offer. How many pages is an offer to purchase now?
13 or 14.
Okay, yeah, 13 or 14. And then you got the disclosures.
That's right.
So you got, let's say 20 pages.
Yeah.
So let's say it's 20, maybe 20 plus. So if you've got that, you got 15 offers. I know somebody do some math for me, but 20 times 15 is a lot of pages to go through. So if your agent is not detailed enough to summarize the offer and not make them go through 400 pages worth of other agents, make your offer stand out. Another way I've seen my agents do it is they put in the subject line, this is going to be your favorite offer on 123 South Street. Just do anything to break the to break the stress, because there's stress on both sides, the person making the offer and the person receiving the offer. So I wanted to ask you, do you use I can't even say the word, escalation clauses?
We were just talking about escalation clauses, and I haven't. I mean, we can, but I think it's sort of giving them already that you can go higher. That's just my thought. I think that just go in with your best offer and see what happens, because escalation clauses, to me, I know they're there and I know people can do them, but it's giving them the upper hand is my feeling.
I agree. I've never used one. In fact, I've been seeing a lot of comments in the MLS from the listing agents, no escalation clauses.
Mhm.
So it seems to me that they don't like them as well. So I always advise my clients, hey, you know what, let's just do highest and best that you feel comfortable and that you're going to be good with. So.
Mhm. So, let's see, I've got a request here for what kind of precautions does one need to take when buying a new home from a builder? Well, I would say, what would you guys say? I'd say always do an inspection. I don't care if it's new or 100 years old.
You know, what I've seen a couple of times is because the builders do give you a 1-year warranty. I haven't found one yet that does not give you the 1-year warranty. So whether you wait and get it done later on in the process, the thing I think with new construction is that it is inspected by the county several times during the building process, everything from the foundation to the framing to electrical, plumbing, sheetrock. So, and they have to pass all of those inspections before they go to the next level of building the home. So you can get a home inspection. You can also wait until like maybe the 10th month and do your home inspection because it's still under warranty with the builder.
That's good. Scott, I know you've sold some new construction lately.
I have, and usually the inspection I usually recommend doing is pre-drywall. That's where you're going to catch any little things, even though, like she said, you know, it has to pass inspections for the city. Having a separate third-party inspector come in and take a look at things, they do find things every once in a while, and it's good for them to be able to find it at that point in time. You can get it fixed before the building process goes.
That's really good.
Once a house is built and finished, it's a little bit more difficult and more intrusive to fix those items if you could have just fixed it during the walkthrough.
Yeah, that's good. I'm hearing also to be careful on the contract itself that you sign with new construction, because sometimes they don't give you firm numbers, they give you ranges. So be aware of that contract. It's very different from the standard North Carolina Bar Association offer to purchase, which was made by a team of attorneys for us to sell real estate, but the new construction can vary from site to site and from builder to builder.
Sure does.
So another thing, going back to submitting just the things you wouldn't think happened. And, you know, I work a lot as a listing agent. And so I would say always send the whole offer, the whole PDF, the whole approval. I've had agents piecemeal something to me when I've got 15 or 20 offers on it. Believe me, you don't want to go looking for something in 400 or 500 pages worth of inventory. So never piecemeal an offer, and make sure you've chosen an agent that has that kind of basic knowledge. So the second thing is, have you ever used having a lender call the listing agent?
I have had lenders call, but again, I think with the amount of due diligence people are putting down, I don't think it is as necessary now as it used to be. But I don't think it ever hurts for the lender to call and just say, you know, they are very, very qualified. You should not have any issues. But to me, it's not as important as it used to be because of the due diligence.
Because of that, yeah. I'm going to ask both of you, would you ever recommend to a buyer to buy a house sight unseen?
Well, I will have to say, my daughter and her husband did. But you know, it's I think it's one of those things that it build that trust with the agent on the other line and say, or the other end. And you just say, you know, I want to trust you. Can you tell me? And often they will come back and say, you know, they had an inspection or they have truly maintained this home. I think it's, again, communication with that with the listing agent. But yes, I would have one right now that was a cash deal. It's a very expensive home. They went in, they put $300,000 due diligence on a sight unseen offer. And they said, the way we feel is, even if we had to go in and do $200,000 or $300,000 worth of work to this house, we're still not going to be the high end in the neighborhood. And so I think it depends on the neighborhood it's into.
And it also depends on the savvy of the buyer. If this is not a first-time buyer, this is
That's right.
obviously somebody that
That's
knows
right.
real estate. So Scott, would you ever recommend somebody buys house?
That's a very tough question. Have we done it? Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Do I recommend it? Not always.
Yeah.
I've had clients where, we do virtual tours. They're out of state, a lot of clients who are out of state and they just can't. If they are local, I always recommend it. Absolutely. If we can go see the house, yeah, let's go see it. But if we can't, there's some situations where that is, necessary.
Mhm. Just had a question from a viewer that said, do we need our own lawyer as a buyer to review the builder's clauses to protect your interest for the new home?
Well, again, I'm working with one right now, and they said they do want all the paperwork to be reviewed by their attorney. I think it's what your client feels comfortable with. I mean, I can't answer any legal questions, not even ever going to try to, but if they read it and they have questions, then I recommend talking to the attorney about it.
So,
Well, typically if you're talking with a new builder, they've got their contracts, which are just like our contracts. We can't physically change a contract, the verbiage. There's only certain things we can make adjustments to. And typically with a new home builder, you're going to find the same thing. They're not going to change it. So typically.
So if you don't feel comfortable with the offer to purchase that the builder, the new construction is offered you, they're probably not going to do business with you because they're going to have it their way. They're having their cake and eat it too.
Yes, there's a term in the new home building industry: no signing, no housing.
No signing, no housing. I like it. All right, so here's a different question, a way to look at this. As a buyer, of course, you're looking to put your very best offer on the table, your very best terms on the table, but outline what you're not going to ask for in this particular market. What have you negated?
Inspections. Well, the due diligence period is typically no due diligence period now. But I think the inspections, there's usually an appraisal addendum. You can say, hey, if it goes above this price, the lender's only going to, lend you the money for what you're paying for. So, or not what you're paying for, but what the value of the home is. So I think the appraisal, what else, Scott? Negate.
The appraisal has always been a solid one for me. But the new one now is just asking for adjustments after the inspection. Most buyers or most sellers now are saying as is, you're buying as is.
No, absolutely.
And you come at them later on after the inspection, ask for things to get done, and a lot of times they say no.
Well, I think you have the opportunity. If you want to do an inspection, you can do it. But I know a few of my clients have waited until it actually closed and have done the inspection then, just so they can know what they need to get addressed at home. But typically, you're not going to get a home if you're asking for inspections in this market.
Regardless, I still recommend doing the inspections if you're in permission.
Exactly.
All right, you're dealing with a first-time home buyer that qualifies for a loan, let's say a 5% down or 10% down loan. How do you attack this market? I love it.
How do we attack this market?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Again, it's not a matter of what your loan is. It's going to be a matter of what you have as due diligence, because that's there. So many sellers are getting multiple offers. And if that seller is going to be giving up other offers, they want some skin in the game. They want to know that the person buying their home is not going to walk away. And I don't know, Scott, what do you think?
I think sometimes it's just a matter of finding the right place for them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you don't shop them in an area where you're going against 20, 30 offers, everything well over asking. You may take them a little bit further out where there's a little bit less competition. So, you know, dealing with that, I'm dealing with a client now that they had a lower price point. We just took them a little bit further out, and we were able to make an offer within 5,000 over asking,
Right.
and made it work. But
That's fabulous. Yeah, going out, but tell me where those areas are.
it's not always easy. But
No.
It was a loaded question that I asked them, because it is difficult. And what we want to promote here is home ownership. And that's the reason I showed you that very first logo that I gave you, the young man that waited for the price of real estate to go down. So anyway, what I'm going to leave you with is that I've got a lender now. I've got a new connection that I'm checking into that can actually take somebody that qualifies for a 5% down or a 10% down loan, and they'll actually pay cash for the house up front, which takes away that 5% down and 10% down loan that the seller would see. So it makes you more competitive. And I'm checking into this right now. I'm going to share it with my team. As always, we enjoyed this time with you. We hope you gave you some information, and we hope we gave you some encouragement that even though the market is complicated, there's still high demand. And the moment you get in the market, you begin to build your financial freedom. So buy a home.
Yeah, work with me and Scott.